In the small town of Merced, California, a tragedy unfolded on December 4th, 1972, that would forever change the lives of a family and a community. 7-year-old Steven Stainer was a typical boy, curious, playful, and full of life. On that fateful afternoon, he was approached on his way home from school by a man named Irvin Edward Murphy, who was working in collusion with convicted child molester Kenneth Parnell. Parnell had devised an insidious plan to kidnap a child and raise him as his own. Steven Stainer was born on April 18, 1965 in Merced, California, to Delbert and Kay Stainer. He was the third of 5 children, growing up alongside 3 sisters and an older brother named Carrie. The Stainer family had its share of challenges, but they shared a close bond in a community that shaped their childhood experiences. Tragically, Carrie's life would take a dark turn years later when, in 2002, he was convicted and sentenced to death for the murders of 4 women near Yosemite National Park, casting a shadow over the family's history. On December 4, 1972, Steven's life changed forever. That afternoon, as he walked home from school, he was approached by Irvin Edward Murphy, a man who had become acquainted with Kenneth Parnell while working together at a resort in Yosemite National Park. Murphy was described by those who knew him as a trusting, naive, and simple-minded individual. He was not inherently malicious, but had fallen under the influence of Parnell, who had presented himself to Murphy as an aspiring minister seeking to raise a young boy in a religious context. Under Parnell's manipulative guidance, Murphy executed a sinister plan to abduct a child. He passed out religious tracts to boys on their way home from school that day, hoping to lure one of them into his clutches. When he spotted Steven, he seized the opportunity. Murphy posed as a church representative seeking donations, capturing the boy's trust with a friendly demeanor. He approached Steven, claiming to be collecting items for a church project. When Murphy asked if Steven's mother would be willing to contribute, the young boy replied that she would. This seemingly innocent conversation quickly escalated when Murphy inquired about Steven's home address, asking him if he would be willing to show him the way. Unbeknownst to Steven, this innocent interaction was the prelude to a terrifying ordeal that would last for over 7 years, forever altering the course of his life and leaving an indelible mark on his family and community. Once in their clutches, Steven was taken to a remote cabin in Cathy's Valley, California, located just miles from his home. For the next several years, he lived under constant abuse and psychological manipulation. Parnell changed Steven's name to Dennis and told him that his parents no longer wanted him. This psychological torment was compounded by physical abuse, forcing Steven into a world of fear and confusion. For a young boy, the trauma of being ripped from his family and the fabricated narrative created by his captors was devastating. The careful orchestration of Parnell and Murphy left Steven feeling isolated and powerless, trapping him in a reality where escape seemed impossible. As the years passed, Steven endured unimaginable hardships, but as he grew older, he began to understand the gravity of his situation. The initial innocence of his childhood was replaced by a dawning realization of the horrors surrounding him. Parnell, who aimed to control Steven entirely, attempted to use him to lure other children into his clutches. It was during this period of intense psychological turmoil that Steven's resilience began to surface. He sabotaged these attempts, reflecting his deep-seated desire for freedom. Despite the threats and abuse, he held on to the hope that he could escape this nightmare and regain his life. In the early days of his captivity, Steven struggled to comprehend the enormity of his situation. He grappled with feelings of guilt and shame, believing he had somehow contributed to his own abduction. Parnell's manipulation was so profound that Steven began to question his own memories, leading him to accept his new identity as Dennis. Nevertheless, his spirit remained unbroken. He clung to memories of his family, holding on to the faint hope that one day he would reunite with them. He yearned for the simple joys of childhood, a loving family, friends, and the freedom to explore the world around him. On March 1, 1980, Stephen seized an opportunity that would change his life forever. Parnell was away at work, leaving Stephen with the chance to escape. Stephen made a courageous decision. He would not only save himself, but also rescue a fellow victim, 5-year-old Timothy White, who Parnell had also abducted. In a moment of profound bravery, Stephen took Timothy's hand and hitchhiked towards a police station. This act of courage demonstrated not only his desire for freedom, but also his determination to protect others from the horrors he had faced. As they approached the police station, Stephen's heart raced. He was finally about to confront the authority that could end their suffering. When they arrived at the police station, officers were astounded by the sight of the two boys. In an instant, they uncovered a shocking story of abduction, resilience, and triumph. Stephen's courage not only saved Timothy White, but also led to the arrest of Kenneth Parnell, bringing an end to a reign of terror that had lasted for years. The moment was a bittersweet victory. While Stephen had regained his freedom, he carried the scars of his traumatic past. His bravery had not only freed him, but also illuminated the dark world of child abduction that lurked just beneath the surface of everyday life. Reunited with his family, Stephen faced another battle, adjusting to a life that had moved on without him. The emotional and psychological impact of his ordeal was profound, manifesting in feelings of alienation and confusion. His parents, struggling to comprehend the changes in their son, found it challenging to reconnect with him. The joyful, playful child they had known was now a young boy burdened with trauma and memories that haunted him. Stephen grappled with the complexities of his identity, feeling like a stranger in his own home. He yearned for the connection he once had with his family, but the wounds of his past created barriers that were difficult to overcome. Despite the challenges he faced, Stephen used his experiences to help others. He became an advocate for child safety, sharing his story to raise awareness about abduction and the importance of vigilance. He joined organizations focused on child safety, speaking to children about the dangers they might encounter. His advocacy was a powerful tool for change, educating families about the risks and equipping them with strategies to keep their children safe. Through his public speaking engagements, Stephen inspired others to take action, emphasizing that prevention and awareness could save lives. Tragedy struck once more when, on September 16, 1989, Stephen was involved in a fatal motorcycle accident, leaving behind a wife and 2 children. His death was a devastating loss to his family and those whose lives he had touched through his advocacy. However, Stephen Stayner's legacy continues to resonate, reminding us of the fragility of life and the resilience of the human spirit. His story is a powerful testament to the strength of individuals who have faced unimaginable adversity and emerged as advocates for change. If you found this story moving, please like, share, and subscribe for more content. Thank you for watching.